weekend plans. The next morning, I got a call from the bank where we'd set up the fund account, and they said we had our first application ready for review. A family in Ohio needed help getting to their evaluation appointments at Cleveland Clinic, and the dad had already missed 2 days of work just for the initial screening. We sent them $500 that afternoon for gas, a cheap motel, and food during their 3-day evaluation process. It wasn't much, but the mom sent us this long email about how they'd been sleeping in their car before, and now their kid could have a real bed the night before his tests. I printed that email and kept it in my desk drawer at work. About a month later, Xanthi called me at home one evening and said she couldn't officially recommend our fund because of hospital policy, but she'd been leaving our flyers in the family waiting room and mentioning it during casual conversations with families who seemed to be struggling financially. She said 3 families had already reached out to us after talking to her, and she wanted to make sure we could handle the volume. I told her we had enough for maybe 15 families if we kept the amount small, and she said she'd be selective about who she mentioned it to. The months started blending together in this weird fog where I did everything I was supposed to do, but felt like I was watching someone else live my life. I went to work, processed claims, came home, reviewed fund applications, paid my bills, bought groceries, went to support group meetings, visited Pia's grave every Sunday, and somehow 6 months had passed since the funeral. People kept telling me I was doing so well, but they didn't see me sitting on her bedroom floor at 2 in the morning, holding her favorite stuffed elephant and trying to remember exactly how her laugh sounded. The state representative called in late fall to tell me the legislation had died in committee because several medical associations had opposed it, saying it would create too much bureaucracy and interfere with doctor-patient relationships. She said we could try again next session with more families testifying and better organization, maybe get some media coverage to put pressure on the committee members. I wrote down everything she said, but honestly didn't have the energy to feel disappointed about it. One afternoon, I was buying groceries when I ran into Mrs. Patterson, who'd been friends with my mom for like 30 years. She grabbed my arm in the cereal aisle and started telling me how destroyed my parents were, how my dad had aged 10 years, how my mom barely left the house anymore. I pulled my arm away and told her they destroyed themselves the day they chose their pride over their granddaughter's life, then left my half-full cart right there and walked out of the store. By spring, the fund had helped 10 families, and we got this thank you card with a photo of a little boy holding a sign that said 60 days post-transplant with a huge smile on his face. His mom wrote that our help with travel costs meant his dad didn't lose his job and they didn't lose their house during the recovery period. I sat in my car in the work parking lot and cried for an hour, but it was different from the grief crying because there was something else mixed in, like maybe Pia's death could mean something for other kids. Dilly called that night to tell me she'd started volunteering at the hospital as a living donor advocate, helping families understand the testing process and navigate the conversations with relatives who might be matches. She said she'd already helped 2 families identify potential donors they hadn't even considered asking, and one of them turned out to be a perfect match. The calendar on my phone started sending me reminders that the 1-year mark was coming up, and I felt this heavy dread building in my chest every morning when I woke up. Rhea from the support group had lost her son 3 years earlier, and she came over one evening with a notebook and helped me plan out the day hour by hour. We'd go to the cemetery first thing in the morning before other people would be there, then spend the afternoon with the support group doing this memorial service they'd planned for all our kids. She said the first anniversary was the hardest because everyone expected you to be better by now, but you weren't, and having a plan helped you get through without falling apart completely. When the day came, I followed the schedule exactly like we'd planned. I brought fresh flowers to her grave and